It's significant because I'm confident that the FBI knows what it's doing and has identified the person in question, and it will allow them to see if he is, as I suspect, someone who thinks that he knows better than all of the institutions and processes of the United States government. What should the policies be and what should be kept clandestine and not, or if he is something more than that, as in someone who was manipulated by a foreign intelligence service. I suspect the former, but of course you want to bring something like this to a resolution of an investigation, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 21 years old, a member of the Guard's intelligence wing. A number of people have been speculating why such a perhaps junior official would be privy to so much information and so many documents. How do you think the authorities, the FBI, will be going about their questioning?
Well, you raise a couple of points, and the first one is a big issue, and it's something I have spoken about in hundreds of interviews, I think, over the years, and that is since the terrorist attack of September 11, 2001, the United States National Security Establishment has hired many thousands of non-staff employees, contract employees, to do all sorts of different jobs, and they have access to very sensitive classified information. But frankly, although the standards are supposed to be as rigorous, the controls on the information are really not, and it's exponentially harder to investigate and keep tabs on all of these people as it is with staff employees. So it's no surprise that this sort of thing happened. Now, how will they being the FBI, go about the investigation? Of course, you'll ask, why did you do this? How did you get the information? Are you working with anybody else? And then you always you must corroborate any statement that the person makes to see if it can be substantiated, is the truth or is not. And then who do you know and what are your circles of acquaintance and professional activity? Have you traveled overseas recently? You'll look for a motivation. I suspect here, sorry to be long-winded, but I suspect here with a 21-year-old National Guard person who's a very young kid who can't possibly, even if he were Albert Einstein, have the experience or know really the context that he was acting in and the ramifications, that he is a true believer of something or other and thought that he knew better than the government and its processes, just like Edward Snowden and the fellow from WikiLeaks.
Well, yeah, I mean, Julian Assange, and of course, Chelsea Manning, who was Bradley Manning, leaked thousands of documents. What seems to connect all of them, although different individuals, different characters, is this sense of government overreach and a feeling that they need to let the people know what's really going on. What are the implications of this for the kinds of individuals that should be entrusted with this, or some soul searching within the authorities about what they do?
Well, you are spot on, and the ostensible motivation and probably sincere at the same time, both self-protecting or self-justifying as well as sincere simultaneously, is what you said, that these things are wrong and the public should know. Well, there's a lot of differences on what should or should not be done in public policy, including national security policy. And individuals in a system don't have the right to make those decisions themselves. That's why you have legal processes and ombudsmen and dissent channels. And there are all sorts of measures to enable dissent and challenge and not simply to be automatons. And a 21-year-old has no right to do that. Now, the implications, what does this mean for it's a long-standing problem that the Americans in particular struggle with, because having a lot of resources that can lead to overkill or thinking that more is better when actually better is better. More is not necessarily better. You don't necessarily need more hands doing the job, more people seeing the information. And if you have to make critical decisions on the essential and leave secondary things out, that will narrow the scope of what is shared with a large number and would reduce the problem, but it wouldn't eliminate it.
Out of all the damage that has apparently been done by this guy. You know, the embarrassing of friends and allies, relationships with, South Korea, with Egypt, with Hungary, etc. Which do you think are the most serious that you think the US will have to get ahead of and try and tidy up as soon as possible?
That's a very good question, and I don't know that I know the answer to that. The fact that it has come out that in this instance, it seems the United States has been conducting espionage on a number of other countries, including some of which are allies, always scandalizes the public. It's sort of like looking behind a curtain into somebody's bedroom, and that's titillating and oh my goodness, and forbidden and shouldn't happen. But every country in the world knows, they're not fools, that this is how international relations function, that states collect information that they think is important for their national security on everybody else. So that's not, frankly, in the world of diplomacy, international relations, so on, it's only a big deal. Well, only. It is a big deal because it has come out, and no state can be allowed to have the perception by its own public in particular that it simply acquiesces in other people rifling their pockets or peeking in their bedrooms. So that's a problem, but that would blow over quickly. The larger issue are the sources and methods that could be have been quite possibly compromised, because now foreign countries will know, their intelligence services will work out, well, how did the Americans know this? There's only a restricted number of our people who have that information, so let's find out who it was. So now they know what the Americans know. They might well find out who provided it and kill them and shut off those sources. So it actually, and this is something non-intelligence people often don't think of or agree with or understand, by shutting off the intelligence flow, it can actually make the world a more dangerous place. The dirty tricks that provide the information make it so that countries are not surprised. And the United States wouldn't at least make an error through ignorance. Its errors would be of a different nature. So I think that's the big thing, are the sources and methods that are compromised.